Signing Day 2020 in the books. Tribe 20 locked in. Nole Insiders Lane Hurt and Tim Linnefelt here with you. Tim, the transition class, as we've learned with this early signing period, is incredibly difficult to put together. Big picture-wise, how do you feel like Mike Norvell and his staff did in putting together a class here for Florida State?
Well, I think you look at it in two ways. One, you just kind of overall, how is this class? And two, you sort of look at it given the circumstances of just getting here in early December and having to deal first with the early signing period, and then with now the traditional National Signing Day is the name for it. And I think on both accounts they did really, really well. Talking to Mike Norvell today, he was really pleased at the needs they were able to fill. Obviously, some glaring holes. Florida State fans all know at the running back position with Cam Akers leaving, the tight end position with some attrition there. You had some places that you had to get some guys, and then of course you're always looking for pass rushers and offensive linemen, and they were able to add some of those as well. So really one where you had specific boxes that you needed to check, and you were able to do that. And then I think, again, looking big picture, to have a staff that's really only been here for a few weeks, even had to replace a member of the staff at one point. That's a curveball you're not expecting right before National Signing Day, to go out and have to get a new position coach. To be able to go through all those transitions as smoothly and seamlessly as they did, I mean, gosh, it's just really extremely impressive. And to me, it speaks to the vision, the roadmap, the plan that Mike Norvell had before he got here and has been able to execute since he's been here.
What sticks out to you in the newest 8 Seminoles that were added today? For me, Corey Wren and his speed. Dillingham and Coach Norvell were gushing over what he can do from a home run ability. And then DJ Lundy, the linebacker, Chris Marv. Coach Norvell could not say enough good things about him and his potential here at Florida State.
Those two for sure. I'm glad you brought up Corey Wren, who I think is literally the fastest prospect in the country, or among the fastest prospects in the country. Guy is just a burner. If you're Coach JP, John Papuchis, a special teams coordinator, you're probably looking at that guy and saying, I wonder if we can find a way to work this guy in. So that's a big one for me. It's Robert Scott, the offensive lineman, Robert Scott Jr. Big frame, a guy who was highly sought after from a number of schools, was previously committed to a named school from a major conference. Florida State identified him. You build that relationship quickly with Mike Norvell, with Alex Atkins, the offensive line coach. It was funny. I asked Alex Atkins what it was like building that relationship with him. And he said they talked on the phone for a while, and they connected on things that didn't really have anything to do with football. It's sort of like hobbies and things that they liked. And so I said, well, what kind of hobbies are you talking about? And he said, well, believe it or not, we connected over fashion. And I said, is that right? He said, yeah, he's really big on on looking really, really sharp and looking good. And they kind of went over some tips on that. And Coach Atkins said that once Robert Scott got down here, they were going to teach him some Florida fashion tips. So we'll see how that goes.
I see a feature story brewing right here.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm the guy to talk about fashion, but yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool, and is that really it obviously resonated with Robert, but I think that's kind of been a theme. I've heard a lot of different coaches talk about that, as the idea of connecting with guys outside of the football field, showing them who you are as a person, and then bringing that onto the football field, into the football program, so that when you're out there on the fields, or you're over there in the indoor practice facility going through the tour of duty, and you're sweating your eyes out and then just having a miserable time going through that conditioning, that the guy who's putting you through it, and you trust them, and you have a relationship with them both before, during, and after. I think that's all three. So to me, that's really cool. I know that's kind of a long-winded response, but at a position where Florida State fans know we have such a spotlight on the offensive line here, to be able to go and target a big offensive tackle type and lure him away from some other schools and get him in here on fairly short notice is really impressive to me.
One of the themes that really stuck out to me when you look at this later signing period is how the Noles and the assistants, they really targeted specific players. They weren't throwing a ton at the wall and hoping things stuck.
Yeah.
They targeted some players, and they hit on those guys. How important was it for them to not only find the right guys, as Coach Norvell says, but to get those guys to buy in and come to Florida State?
No, it's huge, and I think it's big internally, but it's also externally. You can signify to the country, to prospects, to high school teams, to other college teams, hey, guys are coming here to visit. They're seeing something they like, and they're coming. And it doesn't take a whole lot of, a long, lengthy amount of time to make it happen. So now you start thinking to yourself, well, man, give these guys a full year, a full recruiting cycle. What are they going to be capable of, and that's probably a daydream for another day. I think it's still good to focus on the group here, but it's a really encouraging sign. And Coach Norvell mentioned the success rate. He didn't have the exact number off the top of his head, but the percentage of players who came here to visit and then ended up signing was really, really high, and that I think he was super excited about. And also, again, from a perception standpoint, if you're bringing in a ton of guys and none of them are coming, you're saying, well, what's going on? What are they being shown? What is happening that is not resonating? But it's just the exact opposite. They're coming here and they're really liking what they're seeing. They're liking that roadmap, that vision from Norvell that I keep coming back to, and you can feel that momentum picking up again, both internally and then outside the program as well.
If you've been following us on social, you know that the Noles are in the middle of their off-season conditioning, that tour of duty. We'll have much more on that as the off-season conditioning continues. And then spring practice, that opens the beginning of March, and we'll be all in for the Noles there as well as they get ready for that spring game on April 18th. A ton of stuff you don't want to miss on signing day as well. I went one-on-one with Coach Norvell as he talked more about that. We got all of the assistant coaches. Tim has great stuff. You'll see some written material coming over the next week or two. We'll have video interviews with all of them as well. So a lot going on. You don't want to miss it. It's kind of exciting to have all of these assistants to be able to talk and just a lot of material.
Yeah, it really, really is, and they're all just, man, it's a really it's a cool group. They're very, very insightful about their players and the program, and we've talked about it before. So many of them have connections with Coach Norvell, and but it's not just a situation where he's at Florida State, so of course I'm going to Florida State. You have assistants who worked with him and then moved on to Power 5 programs or Southeastern Conference programs that if they didn't believe in Mike Norvell and didn't want to work for him, they didn't have to. They were in perfectly good situations already, but the appeal that he has and the drive that he has, coaches see it, they recognize it. I think signing day today is the latest signifier that players recognize it, they see it, and I think it's a matter of time really before the whole country gets word of it.
There you have it. Stick with Seminoles.com for all of that content, and of course all of our social media channels as well. That'll wrap things up for now. For Tim, I'm Lane. Go Noles.